And now, towering over the demonstration desk is a Fender BXR 100. This is a big honkin' bass amp, and that looks like an 18-inch speaker in this thing. Holy smoke. Well, the problem is it only outputs hissing noise. It doesn't seem to output music. It is a solid state unit, and I have my inklings on what's wrong with it. We will tear it apart. We will talk about what's wrong with it. But we'll zoom in on the control panel here and I'll show you my findings at this point, which are pretty minor. I haven't opened this up yet. Okay, so I don't know if the volume is listenable, but our volume here, 0, there's no hiss. If I dime it, you can hear a little bit of hiss. Our gain over here for our preamps, if I dime that out, I get hiss. I don't know if you can hear that. There's some. So, probably a pretty hot preamp. We're going to clean all the switches and that kind of stuff when we get to it. So we'll put the volumes at half. And I do have a guitar down here on the floor. Yes, I know it's a bass amp, but at this point it has no sound. So rather than try to figure out why it doesn't sound good with the bass, we'll figure out why it doesn't make any sound at all with the guitar. So plug into input 1, and it sounds like it makes almost no sound. We'll dime that thing. And makes a lot of noise, but a little tiny bit of sound, not much. We'll plug into Preamp 2, and I get almost nothing, little bit. But here's what's interesting. Over here we have an effects loop. Preamp out, power amp in. If I plug into power amp in, we'll turn the volume at like 25% on the power section. Even with the measly signal from a Rickenbacker guitar, I get sound. So, okay, that pretty much makes me suspicious of our input jacks over here. They don't feel right. This is a generic my cable. It's a generic Neutrik Reen connector that I use on all my standard cables. We make our own cables here. The reason we make our own cables is we want cables that are repairable. And if I go through the different preamp functions like deep or bright or notch, or play with the shelving or the EQ, I can hear the difference in the hiss, I guess, or the difference in the noise. So my gut says that somehow something over here is grounding out my signal or causing me to lose my signal. So we're going to tear this thing apart and take a look. I'm really curious how big this speaker is, if it's a 15 or if it's an 18. This thing looks like an 18. I might be wrong, but man, it looks big. Stand by. Okay, so it is a 15-inch speaker. Yep, 15. But the strange thing is the surround. It feels like sort of a typical accordion surround, but it's rolled kind of like the foam is on a hi-fi speaker. I'm thinking they're trying to allow maximum excursion. This is definitely a unique speaker, and I think Fender's trying to compensate for the fact that the early Bassman amps were, well, lousy for bass. So I figured they were thinking, you know, the engineer on this project is like, you say we don't have enough bass, I'm going to give you so much bass you can't handle it. I don't know. Anyway, speaker's going to come out, chassis is going to come out, and we're going to figure out what's going on. Okay, kids, well, she's out of the housing. This is got a copyright of 93 on it, and it is marked as USA made. The speaker to me looks like an Eminence, but there are some amp gents who can read a speaker code and tell you exactly who made it and when they made it and da-da-da-da-da. I am not privy to that yet by memory, but we can always look it up if we really care. But it looks like we have a whole bunch of chips. I'd have to look up that number to be sure. I think that's an op amp. Looks like we have these little op amps. They're pretty much the same chip going down a board, so I'm guessing those are just various gain stages in the preamp, and then we get back to the power amp back here, which we have determined the power amp works when I plug a guitar directly into it, I get sound. So our problem's in our preamp, but all of our tone knobs and things do things. They make hissing noises, they make sounds. And I think the biggest giveaway here is when I took this chassis out, I thought I heard a funny rattle, and I think there's a rattle right in these preamp jacks. So we're going to take this board out and see if we can see inside of those or what's going on, or at least put the meter to them and see if they're grounded out, because my guess is if there's a crack inside of there, they are probably a shorting type jack, and one of the leads, which is supposed to, you know, unground when you plug a guitar into it, is not ungrounding, and I'm guessing that's one of the two is a problem, and it's one of the two of these is grounding out the whole preamp section. So this might be a, I don't know how annoying this is going to be, because I don't think these are switchcrafts, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get one exactly like it. We might use a generic cliff jack and some wires or something. We'll figure it out, you know. Got to make it work. Okay, so suspicions confirmed. Both these jacks are broken inside. There's a little metal piece floating around in here loose in each one. Yeah, so I'm not even going to bother to try to fix them. That looks like I don't know if that was the ground or that was the switch. It's probably the switch, but it doesn't matter. It's broken, it's floating around in there, it's grounding out the signal, and we're not getting any signal into the pre. So suspicion confirmed. Now it's a matter of deciding what to do with it. I think even if I were to hunt down these particular jacks, I don't know that I'd be any better off, because they failed once. What would keep them from failing again? Maybe we'll take them off the board and put in some aftermarket jacks that work. Maybe something a little more traditional, maybe something more metal, or at least stronger. Stand by. Okay, so I got the bad jacks desoldered. There they are, all broken. And I went through, see, it's even falling apart. I mean, what a piece of junk. Junk jacks. Bad, bad Fender, bad. So considering that these are junk, based on what I was looking at and figuring out, I found these cliff jacks like you'd find in a Marshall, and dimensionally they should ride up above the board when it's in position. So I could technically solder these in with wires and they'd be an upgrade. These things are pretty tough, even though they're plastic. I used them in the RTL amplifiers, and they work out pretty good. I got them at the surplus store and the price was good. So I had to sort of figure out from the broken unit what's what on here. And we have ground, ground, tip, tip, and then this is the switch, tip to ground. So that would be the switch. When the switch is not lifted, it would be grounding. So that's really of no consequence. I can wire my switch up however, but there's our ground planes. We have grounds, and tips. So that said, we should be able to get the new jacks in and get her working. Okay, so it's the next morning, because last time we talked about this it was late last night. I've got the new cliff jacks soldered in there using some red wire, and they actually look like they belong on the front of the amp. We still have some of these other cheesy jacks that were on there before, boom 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 boom, that those I don't like them, but if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. And the rest of the amp actually looks pretty good. The caps all look healthy. I'm not getting any weird stray sounds. It's got some dust bunnies in it. But as far as component choice and build quality, I mean, for the most part, this amp's not bad. We'll zoom in down here on the power board. But we've got, you know, really nice big diodes. The resistors here for the power supply, they don't seem to get too hot, unlike what was it, the Fender Hot Rod series. Those, I think it's way too hot and it was cooking. We have a thermal overload here on the transistor, so you know, things seem okay. And we'll just do a quick we'll just say a non-sound test, because we're not going to actually test it for sound. So we'll go into jack, this is the 68K impedance jack. Okay, so we have sound in the 68K, and then we're going to go over to the 34K. You can already hear, I can hear the loudness. And less impedance, that's the louder. So in bass speak, this would probably be the passive bass jack, and this would be the active bass jack. So now that both jacks work okay, we're gonna warm this up and re-glue that. They hot glued this ribbon cable so it wouldn't bounce around, and that sort of tore loose. So we'll warm the glue up and reseat that, and clean all the dirt off of it, and clean all the pots and all that. So I guess when you see it, it'll probably be done, because I don't think scrubbing dirt off of anything is that interesting of a video. Yep, okay, see you in a little bit. Okay, so with our new jacks installed, this thing's ready to go. Very powerful amp, tons and tons of bass. If I let the neck pickup go on this bass guitar, yeah, I can pretty much knock some things around. We're at 50% volume just on a bridge pickup, and yeah, it moves a lot of air. Close enough. I don't think you need me to serenade you with my hack playing, but successfully working with a PC board amp. Just so you're aware and everybody else is aware, when you're putting the board back in, be aware of things like that LED light over there, or the little push button switches. If that board isn't in there dead straight, then the switches will stick and the LED light will end up not in the hole it's supposed to go in. That was the only thing I had to fix on the back end. Our new jacks are successful, both of them work, and we cleaned the dirt off the amp. But very, very loud amp. It's rated at 100 watts. I've had amps that were rated at more watts that weren't quite as loud, but definitely a loud amp and worthy of going on stage. As far as the tone goes, I would have to play with it before I really developed an opinion, but it's got plenty of volume and minimal noise, and so as far as I'm concerned, that's fixed. And it's actually making that zip tie dance across my desk. Lovely. Thanks for watching, and if you need any help with any amps or any questions or anything, you know where to find me. Have a great day.